The world really has become a global village, right? So you're working in an environment today where you are, shown different languages, or you're exposed to different languages working within Word 2013. If you're working at, if you're studying in college or university, or if you're working in an environment where you have multiple offices spread across the world, and then you may come across documents where different languages are inserted. So in this tutorial, I will show you how to set up these languages, how to work with them, how to work with various accessibility options. So either for ease of use, so you're not caught off guard as to something new. So let me demonstrate this. So I have the sample document open. The way languages are set up is under the File. Okay, you go to Backstage View, click on File. And as soon as you click on File, go to Options. Under Options, you will see in the Word Options dialog box, Language. And we can choose the editing languages here. For instance, we can add another language if need to edit our documents. Right now, default is English, United States. It's installed, both keyboard layout and the proofing, spelling, grammar, and so forth. Okay. What if I need to install another language? For example, if you are in, let's say, English, where is it? Oh, here it is, okay. So English, United Kingdom. So there are certain subtle differences between the two. So I want to be able to add this too. Notice as soon as I add, Word tells me that my keyboard layout is not enabled. However, my fonts, the proofing styles are already installed. So I can enable the keyboard, which makes it easier whenever you're typing text for this particular language, okay, to help identify the language. Now, notice they're both English, so pretty much the same. What if you were to add another language here? Let's say I want to add Dutch. Now, in this case, Word says my keyboard is also not enabled and my proofing tools are not installed. So in order to install proofing tools for this particular language that we have selected, we can go to office.com and we simply click here and it will take us directly to office.com to insert the proofing tools. Okay, here I can buy the language pack and download it, and it automatically installs it. All right, back to this. Same thing with keyboard not enabled. If I need to enable the keyboard, let me use Dutch because that's a different language. You'll be able to see it more clearly. Let's say not enabled, so I'm going to enable this. Once I click on it, it takes me to my control panel. Okay, so automatically opens the control panel, all control panel items, and then the language area. So here my default language is already, I can see that. I need to add a language, and in this case it was Dutch. Here it is. So I click on it and click open. It gives me two versions, whether it's Dutch in Belgium or Dutch as in Netherlands. So I'm going to say, well, it's for the country, so select this and click add. And Word adds this language for me. All right, so there's some options that I can also work with here. The input method, for instance, this tells me that if I click on preview here, it tells me my keyboard layout for this particular language. Okay, so the layout is United States International, and I can see my preview. Then I can save it. I can move up and down, I can remove it, okay, and so forth. So this shows you how to insert another language, and depending upon your requirements, you can select any of these languages there, all of them. Okay. All right, let me know when I should download additional proofing tools. Word automatically tells you. So if you import a document or you get a document in a different language and you try to open it Word 2013, if you have this checkbox checked, Word is automatically going to give you a pop-up message saying, hey, do you need proofing tools for this language? And then it will take you to office.com. You can download them and then see the language. Okay? So here's how you can change the language and keyboard layouts. Okay, choosing display and help languages, same thing. You can set the language priority in order for the buttons, tabs, and helps. So it's going to match Microsoft Windows by default, and then English. And this is where you can go to office.com and get more language or languages installed or proofing tools. We can also set our screen tip language. It's going to match the display language by default, which is English, or you can change it. Okay. All right, so that's one way to set your options by going under File and Option. Okay, and it tells me please restart Office so that your languages changes can take effect. since I added another language called Dutch, so I need to be able to restart my Office for this to take effect. All right, another way to get to these languages is under the Review tab. Okay, so if I click on my Review tab, and notice my language group is where I have options to work with languages. I can set proofing tools, or I can set language preferences. If I click on language preferences, it takes me to the same word options dialog box where we can add more languages. Okay, so a couple of ways you can get to this. I'm also interested in taking a look at how to set proofing language. Once we click on how to select proofing language, this gives a list of all the languages that we have. Okay, so the speller and grammar tools, your thesaurus, is going to check for various languages that you have selected. Okay, and you can set them as default, or you can say detect language automatically, which it is in this case, so it's much easier for Word to see. All right, this is a very powerful feature called Translate, again within the language group under the Review tab. If I click on Translate, I get a few options here. I can translate the entire document, I can translate the selected text, or I can use the mini translator, or I can select the choose translation language. Okay? So let me demonstrate this. For example, here's my first paragraph, and I just highlight this paragraph, I go to Translate, and I want to translate this particular paragraph. Okay, so translate selected text, and what Word does, it picks up the paragraph and translates it using Microsoft Translator from English to French. Okay, so if I like to change the language here, I'm going to be able to use Dutch, Netherlands, because that's the example that we used, and boom, Word automatically translates it. And also tells me and gives me the option to either copy, okay, go down here, you can see, or insert or copy. So if I click insert, it's going to automatically take this paragraph in Dutch and insert it within my document. Okay, so let's do this, and the language is now Dutch. Obviously, you need to be online, right, to use the translator, so make sure you connect it to your Microsoft Online account before you can use this translator option. Okay? And you can set some options. You can download more. You can go to research options, which allows you to reference books, sites, searches, and so forth. All right, so a very powerful way how to translate documents on the fly. If you don't know the language, if you need to know the language, if some foreign document comes to you, easy. Highlight the entire document, go to your translator here, and translate. Okay, I know we've been using Google Translator, right, to do this. We have to go back online, go to Google, and copy the text and so forth. Not anymore. It's right here in Word. You can use it in Word 2013. So that's one way to do some research. Okay, let me close this down. All right, then we have obviously our word count, pretty basic. So if I click on it, it tells me the number of pages that I have, number of words in my document, characters with no spaces, characters with spaces, paragraphs and lines. All right, so thesaurus, same thing. Expand that a little bit so you can see. Here I can, if I'm doing my research, I can work with some of these words. Here I can search for some words. Okay, so I can say management, and it tells me, various synonyms and so forth. Notice Word also has speaker icon here for it to pronounce the words. It's much easier, so if you don't know how to pronounce some of the word, it will do that for you. Once I click on it, it'll say, so it'll pronounce the word. So very, very handy tools that you can work with using the thesaurus, language, translate, word count, and thesaurus. Same thing with define. For this, you need to make sure you're signed in to use your dictionaries. You can install additional dictionaries, or you can use the ones that you have. So it just depends. All right, so I've shown you how to work with accessibility options, how to work with languages, how to install different languages, how to translate your document into various languages. Let's take a short quiz.